So I joined first. Look at that. God is cutting this video in half because this part is all about you, Fabienne, and helping you through this. Okay? So I'm I joined in the winter of 2018 in December. Okay? I didn't meet him until the following year in 2019. And it just so happened by chance. He went to an event at night that I went to. Or no, he went to an event at night that I went to. And he was going consistently. And we were playing what we call volleyball. And basically is we take a racket court and a volleyball and the net that they have in the racket court. They have nets in the racket court, so we put up the net. And we would use, it's kind of like soccer football. You make your own rules. So we had our own rules for volleyball. You could bounce it off the wall, but you had similar rules to volleyball. And so he was there for the first time. And because it's a friendly environment, we didn't have the hesitation of talking to each other. So we talked and we jived and da-da-da-da-da. And we did this. We played together on teams, the same teams, until he knocked me down. This is how I knew he was my husband. I am the type of person that braces myself for impact because I always know that there's going to be an attempt to take me down. Eyes to see, ears to hear. And I had been playing with this group before he showed up for a while. So I knew they were very physical. So I always braced myself for impact. That day, there was another young man, and he irritated my spirit, let's just say that. And he was very cocky, and he was very opinionated, and I didn't like him. And whenever he was there, I was always opposite of him. That day, because of this man, I was on the same team because God said, follow him. And I'm like, okay. And I'm following him. But I wasn't walking with God completely. What's the matter? That fly bugging you? Okay. I wasn't following God's will completely, but he was starting to lead me because I was starting to listen because I had prayed for God to lead me. And he goes, okay, I'm going to lead you. Let's see how well you listen. And so we're playing, and right before this happened, this young man, the ball is coming right at me, and I'm getting ready to hit it. And he gets it, he pushes me, but I don't fall. Again, I'm always bracing myself. And I just about ripped him a new asshole. And my spouse saw my reaction. And he didn't like what this young man did. And he told the young man, you need to settle down. You need to relax. And you need to stop. So 2 plays later, God is so good. This is how he told me. Counterfeit. The real one's going to come after the counterfeit. I'm like, oh, okay. But I didn't know this then. He's been showing me this now. Like, he's been showing me this. And I've been going through, I'm like, why am I going through the same cycle? Like, I see the same thing. So because he wants you to recognize when it's the fake one, when it's the real one. The fake one is always coming before the real one. So this young man got in the way, and he irritated me. And then 2 plays later, I'm about to hit the ball, but it's not quite in my section. It's a little bit leaning towards his area. So we both come together and hit, and I'm the one that falls first. And here's me, I'm looking at him from the floor. And I'm going, no one's ever knocked me off my feet before. In my head, I'm thinking, no one's not. And I'm in awe. Like, I'm looking at him like this. And I'm so sorry. I, Diana, I swear, I didn't mean to. And I'm looking at him and I'm like, it's okay. I had a complete different reaction to what I did with this kid. And he's looking down on me like, I just knocked her down. Like, oh my God, she's about to tear my head off. And I'm looking at him and I'm like, it's okay. And he gives me his hand. And that was the first time we touched. And he helped me up. And I looked at him and I said, it's okay. We were both going for the same thing. And he looks at me and he goes, I am so sorry. I said, it's okay. It's all in fun. I said, I've never had it. And I did speak to him these words. I've never had anyone knock me off my feet before. And he just looked at me like, that's a weird statement. So that was game point. When it was game point, we're supposed to switch teams because we lost. So now we can start a new game. He went to the other side of the court instead and stayed away from me because he felt that bad. But God had already made the connection. And I realized the reason he was playing on the same side as I was playing every time we played is because he felt the same leading I did. He wanted to be where I was until he made a mistake. And then he felt like, oh, she's not going to like me. I saw the way she reacted to that guy. She has a temper. So does he. Yes, he does. That is one of the reasons why God has me with a temper, because I'm not going to back down. I'm stubborn. I'm forceful, and he's stubborn. He's forceful. And so we're going to be like two rams locking horns. But it's going to be through the grace of God that we're going to be able to make it through. Because he has changed my way of looking at things in such a way that I am not going to lock horns with him and stay locked. Instead, when we start to come at each other and lock horns, I'm going to step back and say, you know, I don't want this to be the way we live our lives. Not because I'm better than him, but because God is teaching me how to disengage. Because it takes one of us to disengage for the other one to disengage. And when he starts to learn to disengage, he's going to learn when those feelings are starting to bubble up, when those feelings are starting to come up, he's going to pull himself back and say, whoa, I don't want to treat her this way. I don't want to react this way. But it takes one person to do it the way God wants them to do it, and then others will do the same. You disengage, and then they're like, oh. But when you start to treat people with disdain and with anger and with spitefulness, they react in the same way. That is why Jesus said, the only commandment that I give you is to love each other. Love your neighbors, love your brothers, love your sisters. Love each other. Show each other love. Because love will ensure that none of the other commandments get broken. If Cain had loved Abel the way he was supposed to love his brother, he would have never felt jealousy against him. He would have never felt anger against him. He would have celebrated his brother. He would have encouraged his brother. He would have tried to help his brother. He would have even said, hey, how about I teach you how to hunt? How about I help you make that skill stronger so you are able to teach me how to do the vegetation the way you do. And instead, he chose wrong. He chose anger, he chose hatred, he chose evil. Remember, we all ate from the apple, and we all have to choose between God and death. That is Lucifer. Lucifer is death. By eating that apple and becoming knowledgeable about the things that are right and wrong, we now have to choose every day to do the right thing or do the wrong thing. And so it caught my attention because I've never had anyone do that to me. I was like, okay, interesting. I'm paying attention. The next time I saw him, we were playing Frisbee football. We love games. We love to play games. That we have in common. And so we were on the same team again, and we were running around. It's dark. You can't see anything. And we got to talking, and that's when I found out that we were the same age because we had children the same ages. My children fit into the gaps of his children. Like my daughter was a year old, was the same age as his oldest son, but his son was born in April. My daughter was born in March. She was supposed to be born April 1st. But I said, no, you're not going to be born on April Fool's Day because I'm not going to be that person. So she was born 2 weeks early. She was born on Passover weekend, she was born on March 25th, which March 25th is the beginning of Passover, I think. I don't remember. I don't follow the holidays, okay? I follow God. God says, hey, today's my resurrection day. I'm like, woohoo! But if God doesn't like highlight a holiday for me, I do celebrate Christmas because it's not Christmas, it's Christmas. That's right, people, it's Christmas. And any day that I can celebrate my father, then I will. I'll celebrate my father because he deserves all the glory. He deserves all the celebrations. He deserves everything. And plus, everything that's ever happened in my life has always happened on during the December month. Okay? We moved from California to Arizona in December. My ex-husband proposed to me in December. We got married December 5th. I joined Events and Adventures in December. So something about the 12th month, the Gregorian calendar 12th month, is a highlight in my life, which is exactly 6 months after my birthday. My birthday is in July. So from my birthday to December, monumental things always happen. But from January to July, it's always the work. I always have things working. And then as soon as my birthday hits, it's like a chutes and ladders. It's like chutes and ladders. You know when you're sliding down the slide on chutes and ladders? It's like that. It's like when you're first starting out the game, you keep you have to step, and then all of a sudden you get to the ladder and you're like, that's my life. From January to my birthday, it's work. From July to December, it's it's smooth sailing. But God is doing a new thing. I'm working and I'm getting blessed. I'm working and I'm getting blessed. And I'm working. So he's changing the way that my blessings go. And the reason is because that was never the trajectory that God wanted for me. God wanted me to be always in overflow of blessings. But the woman who raised me tried to change it so that she knew how my blessings were coming in. Eyes to see and ears to hear, peoples. Peoples. Okay. So we started talking, and I started to see similarities. Now, God is using something that I did in the world that was taught to me by the woman who raised me. The woman who raised me would take me to psychics. She would she would have me read my horoscope. She would have me, there was this man, a Mexican man, who was on TV, his name was Walters. He was very, very, very popular back in the 80s. He had all celebrities coming after him, presidents, all types of high-level people would come to him, would seek him out to give them guidance on their lives, because he was a blessed man. He could see in the spirit. He could see the things that were coming, that were going to be blessings to the people. And instead of using it the way God wanted him to use it, he used it to elevate himself. And he did. He would wear these ornate costumes. I call them costumes because he started to symbolize and mimic the Catholic Church with the big, extravagant robes and the. He never wore hats because he was. I don't think he loved his hair. He had golden brown hair, so it wasn't dark like mine. It was much lighter. It was almost blonde, and it was natural. It wasn't something he did himself. It was natural. He was born that way. And he was a very, very, very light-skinned man. And so suddenly he's off the TV, like he's not on TV anymore. And I remember this woman would have me sit in front of the TV watching him. And she would tell me, what did your horoscope say? What did your horoscope say? And because I'm a child and I want the love of my mother, because I think she's my mother, I'm willing to do what she wants me to do. And I'm willing to submit to what she wants me to submit because, and the book talks about that, how this happened. And so now that I'm an adult, I know God doesn't want me to do these things. I know they're not of God, but I felt this like this push. So in one of the events that we went to, and this is before I met this man. This is how God led me, okay? So I know what I like. And while I was married, there was a vision. Okay. God is asking me to share this part, okay? I had this vision while I was having sex with my ex-husband. In this vision, he was using what my husband at the time was doing to show me something that was going to happen in the future. And I realized that this man that was doing this thing is not the man. My eyes are open. They're not closed. But I'm seeing in the spirit. And I'm like, but it's like I'm in that place, in that moment, doing what we're doing. And I realized the man that's with me now is not the man that I'm feeling. And I'm just like, and so I pushed him off me. I'm like, whoa, wait, no. And he goes, what's wrong? And I said, It's too intense. And I was like, I need a second. And so I cleared my head. I was like, what the heck? And he would tell me when we were having intercourse, don't close your eyes because you're thinking of someone else. And I'm like, I'm not thinking of anyone else. And I wasn't. But my body was responding to the things he wasn't doing. Eyes to see and ears to hear. That's why he always thought I was cheating on him. But I wasn't cheating on him. It was because God was already showing me the future. And he did. He showed me my ex-husband married to a new woman. I didn't know he was married. I thought he was cheating on me. And I saw a son, which I thought was a son that he had with another woman that he cheated on me with, because he did cheat on me before. But it turns out this son is in the future. And I told him, once you have that son, you and I will never get back together again. He had a son. And I realized God was telling me, once he has that son, you and him are done. But he used that to mirror my husband, because he has a son with another woman. And you would think, oh, well, that's God telling you that you're not going to be with him. No, no, no. Because God showed me that there would be a boy in my life who wasn't my blood, but he belonged to my husband. And because he belonged to my husband, I would love him. And so he's showing me, this is how it feels when it's not the right one, and this is how it feels when it is. I haven't been able to get this man out of my head, except for 3 years. 3 years. So back to this event. So it's at night, we're talking, we're getting to know each other. He likes me, I like him. We end up at the same event again. This time it's a bar slash club. So there's dancing, there's drinking. And I was there with another girl. She asked me, this is how Lucifer gets in the way. Lucifer knew that this man was going to be there and he was going to want to walk me to my car. So he had this girl who lives in a place called Devil's Place. Okay? They call it that because it's near the ASU campus. And ASU is, their mascot is the Sun Devils. I'm going to detract a little bit. So God had led me to go and view this school when I was graduating from high school. And I remember standing in that school, and I remember going through the hallway, and it didn't feel right to me. It didn't feel like that was the place for me. And it wasn't, because ASU is very expensive. It was expensive back then, and it's even more expensive now. And they don't give scholarships. So I applied at NAU, which I hadn't even seen the school. I had never been there. I just saw pictures of it, and I fell in love because it's in the wilderness, it's in the forest, it's beautiful and green, and it's in the mountains, and I wanted to be in the mountains. And guess what I got? A full ride. All 4 years, all expenses paid, with the exception of food. I would have to have my own job. And I already had that lined up. But the woman who raised me said, no, you're not going. And I stayed. Had I gone, life would have been different for me. But I've also would have missed the connection between my spouse. So God allows certain things to happen so that his will is done. If I had gone to NAU, I would have never met this man. I would have never been. So that, hindsight being 2020, I'm starting to understand that the reason God wanted me to go to these places is because this is where I was going to meet my husband. But there are delays, there are reroutes, because it's one of those situations where you can't always understand the path, and you're sometimes not ready to accept the way things are going to open up in your life. And because God needed me to be of a certain mindset, of a certain heart posture, because of the assignment that He has before me, that He couldn't have me come into union with my husband in that moment, because He needed my heart posture to change. He needed me to go through more things in order for me to be with Him. Not because I didn't deserve Him, but because of the assignment that I have. I have to go through things that will teach me how to change my behavior, my attitude, how to control my emotional responses so that I won't react to the external in a way that's not God's way. And so, and this is how God confirms who you're really supposed to be with. Because I have eyes to see and ears to hear. The woman my ex-husband married graduated from ASU the year they got married. Yeah. Yeah. And that's where my spouse graduated from. And his daughters and his sons. I thought God would confirm, because He had me go there first. And I said, no, I don't like it here. Because even though I was walking in the world, God gave me a double portion of the Holy Spirit because of the things that I was going to go through when I was a child. And again, I do talk about this in my book. And I knew the things that felt wrong, and I knew the things that felt right. Okay, so back to this event. So it's a hot air balloon event, and it's in the city of Goodyear. And so I go there, and there's a psychic there. First off, she charged way too much money. She charged like $48. And I was like, that's the most expensive freaking... Anyway, so she did us in groups. So there was 3 of us that were going to do it. Going to do the psychic reading. And I sat down in front of her. I was, I think, the second one. You know, I was waiting. You know, we had to wait outside the tent. And then when she was ready for us, we came in. And it's so funny to me because these women always try to get me to come into their office. None of the other girls, just me. I'm always, oh, you need to come in and you need to speak with me because there are some things in your life that are blocking your blessings, that are blocking your... And I'm like, no, thank you, but no, I'm good. So I sat down, and she starts talking to me about, you've had some hardships, you have this, you have that. And I'm like, yeah. You know, most people have. She's not telling me anything that I don't know yet. And then she says, there is going to be an opportunity with a man. And she says, but your emotional status right now isn't available to him. So when he comes across your path, you're not going to be ready to receive him. And she goes, you need to work with me so that I can make you ready. And I'm like, no, thank you. But now that I know that there is a man coming, I need to be ready. I need to be open-minded, and I need to be ready to receive him. And I remember what I felt in that encounter, and I know he was going to have a beard, a full beard. So, carnally, I'm looking for a man with a beard. And there was a man that came into an event. It was a smoking event. Yes, I smoke cigars. God led me a long time ago to smoke cigars, and every once in a while I will partake because God says they're mine. Lucifer has used it for his. That's how they came with cigarettes. Cigarettes kill. Cigars are different. And I don't know how. Again, it's all part of the apothecary. Okay? There is something with the cigar that God is going to show me how to make that part of our healing. Okay? And so, even the way they make the cigars is different from how they make cigarettes. And they have a different, do they infuse them with nicotine and all that crap? Yes, they do. But there are certain labels that still use the old methods. And because those methods are still used, God has, and I don't smoke big ones. I smoke these little 4 by 60. They're 4 inches by 60 inches round. And then, so it was a smoking event, and I was there, and this man was there, and we were talking. And this woman who was next to me was like, "Are you talking to him? Are you getting to know him?" I'm like, "Yeah, he seems nice." He's older, much older than me. He's 58. Where at the time I was only 44. And so he was aloof. Not really interested, but interested. Kind of making himself more important than he really was. And so I became friends with him on Facebook because I saw him one other time. And then he told me, he goes, "I'm always working, so I don't have time to come to these events." And he said, "I don't even know why I signed up." So I was like, "Ooh, maybe he's the one." So we did end up going out for drinks. He paid for the drinks. And we had a good conversation, I thought. And I ended up seeing him at another event. This is in between. This is before I met my spouse. Remember, the counterfeit will always come before you meet the one. But God was already showing me this is kind of what he's going to look like. But his attitude, because I already had experience with my ex-husband, I already knew the behavior that I didn't want. And there was something about him. He still had pictures of his ex-wife. And I was like, okay, well, I didn't mind. But he was freshly out of a relationship. He had just gotten divorced, which told me he wasn't ready. He wasn't ready for a relationship.